Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News on 3FM. My name is Beatrice Adu. The news is also live on Kesmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Audit firm KPMG warns government risks paying as much as $122 million if it fails to find a legal basis to terminate all SML contracts. But legal practitioner Martin Kpebu maintains the entire deal must be cancelled since it was signed without the necessary approval. Also, leading member of Movement for Change, Hobson Adu, slapped with charge of publication of false news as he is granted bail by the Circuit Court in Accra. And much later, Attorney General given 7 days to file his response in a case challenging the power of the President to sack security chiefs, including the Inspector General of Police. We are live at the Supreme Court. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, a leading member of the Movement for Change, Hobson Adu, has been granted bail by the Dansoman Circuit Court. He has been charged with the publication of false news. 3FM's George Quenin reported he's to report to the police station every Monday to assist with investigation. He was arrested by the police on Wednesday. His crime, Hobson, was picked up over his claim that he detonated dynamite in the Volta region during the 2016 general election. He made the claim during a radio interview in Accra, which has since gone viral. Now, dozens of supporters of the Movement for Change were at the police station and the court premises to support Hobson Adu. Among the personalities present was his wife, the wife of the leader of the Movement for Change, Patricia Adu. So we'll bring you that sound when Alan Tremantin's wife spoke to the media when he visited Hobson Adu, whilst this developing story is ongoing. And we're joined by George Quenin, who is in court for us. George, take us through what went on right from the police station when Hobson Adu was being transferred to the court.
So much, Beatrice, and I'm actually speaking to you from the Ministry's police station. So this morning he was worked from where he was detained since yesterday to the Dansoman Circuit Court where his case was heard. And so after the hearing, he was charged with the publication of false news, and he was charged. It was billed 20,000 cedis bill with 2 sureties, 1 justification, and also to report at the police station every Monday to assist in investigations. And so he's back to the Ministry's police station to actually finalize, the bail condition terms. So that's what is actually going on here. Some supporters of the movement are here. The wife of, the founder is also here. But so for the supporters, this is good news. And the fact there was no basis for this very prosecution. And for them, this whole more like intimidation is just because he's involved with Alan Tremantin, not really because of the class of the matter. Because there are people who've made, claims like this, and we're not really they're not dealt with, so there was no point. They have to take him to all these challenges, they said. So we are here finalizing the condition terms, and so we're just hoping that when he's done, he can speak to us, Beatrice.
George, beyond the being charged for publishing false news, as it were, has there been any development around charges against him so far?
No, Beatrice, it's just what it is. We've not heard anything again. This is what it is. We spoke to his lawyer, Ken Crunch, and that's what he said has been, charged with publication of false news. So in the court, so the prosecutor, of course, wanted him to be detained to assist in the investigation. And for him, if he's granted bail, it would actually tamper with investigations. That's what the prosecutor prayed for. And then the lawyers were like, he's a man of good repute. He's never been charged of any charges like this. And so he has a clean sheet. So I think on that basis, that's when the judge, granted him bail. So that's what it is.
George, we need to get legal understanding of what's going on. But briefly tell us how the supporters who are there are reacting to all that is going on.
So the supporters are very happy about this. Clearly, for them, I think they they actually envisaged that there was no way he was going to be detained again after today. So he being bailed is good news. It's good news for even the movement, because the movement has come to stay. Any sort of intimidation whatsoever will not stand. They are here to cause change. And so this is more like a warning to the MPP, where they feel they are intimidating one of the leaders because he's just parted ways from them. And so they're not deterred with all these intimidations. So it's good news for them, obviously.
Thank you very much, George Queenie, reporting live from the court, and we'll bring you updates as and when we have it with this developing story going on. Private legal practitioner Martin Kpebu joins us on the line. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, Beatrice.
We just want to get a legal understanding of really what's going on. We know that crime has no expiry date, but if at the time of its commission no report was made by the police of crime committed, years later someone comes out to say he or she did that, really, can the police take that person on to an extent that he was arrested yesterday and prosecution is already, has started?
Yes, Beatrice. Theoretically, they can take Hobson on because, as you rightly mentioned, crime has no expiry date. However, the crux of the matter is whether there is evidence. You see, so when Hobson says so, that yes, he threw dynamite, blah, 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 that alone is not sufficient to mount a prosecution. You are likely to find that this case is abuse of the powers of coercion by the state. Because what they were required to do is to investigate, to find out whether really these things happen. Okay, unless, as they're saying, I'm understanding that they say the crime is what? Is it publication of false news?
Yes, publication
right?
of false news.
But Ghana, trouble, Ghana police. It's terrible. I mean, you let the time run, but let's mention this. As you said, they went to court because when you arrest a person, you must take him to court if you don't want to grant him bail. And you have within 48 hours. You see, that's the case I did. Martin Kpebu number 4 versus Attorney General number 4. So the fact that the police went to court today doesn't mean that they are ready to start prosecution. No. Lots of these cases, after they bail, before you discover one adjournment, second adjournment, by the third adjournment, then the case is cancelled. At this stage, my suspicion is that Hobson was just arrested so as to instill some fear in him. You know, he said that he's here to come up with more revelations, etc. So it's a way of communist inferior tactics. It's a way of shutting him up. But I don't see this as any serious prosecution.
In other words,
remember last year, that's the same way they arrested Jesus Ahonfe, my client, this publication of false news and causing alarm. We went to court. We defeated the police. We won the case. So we gave the police a bloody nose. I thought they should take a cue from some of these things. It's a democracy. It's not everything that is justiciable in court. No. The president, when he was in the opposition, he said, all die, be die. He was encouraging violence. Who prosecuted President Adu? When he said, all die, be die. When he was encouraging violence in this country. We only condemned him publicly. Did anybody ever suggest, even if it was suggested, it wasn't taken seriously that he be prosecuted. Later on, didn't he become president? All die, be die. Was he not instigating violence in this country when he was in opposition? Who arrested him? Who prosecuted him?
All right. So, in this case, just briefly though, what defense is available for Hobson Adoye and his team?
Yeah. So, if they are saying they're saying he has published false news. So, if you can show that no, he didn't publish false news, the statement he made, he was confident that it was true, then he's good to go. And definitely, Hobson is going to fight it. Yeah, he's certainly going to fight it. I don't think it serves them any purpose really prosecuting him because, as he said, he has more secrets. So when you do this, you only anger him, and in the trial, more secrets will emerge, and we'll see who will be the loser.
We'll have to end it here. Thank you very much, Martin Pegbu, private legal practitioner, speaking on the arrest of Hobson Adoye, a lady member of Movement for Change. Adib Sani is a security analyst. He joins us live as well on the line. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
I'm wondering what your interpretations are about, the history of what Hobson Adoye said, his subsequent arrest yesterday, and now he's in court and what he's been charged with, the security implications, what you read through all these processes.
Well, surely the things he's reported to have said is quite disturbing. But the question is, has it been corroborated by the police? Was it an incident that was reported to the police? Was it an incident that was under investigation? And so what he had said opened up the investigation for progress to be made? Or is he going to be charged for publication of false news? So currently, as we sit, I'm so confused about it because we would have to establish whether indeed such an incident happened.
He's already been charged with publication of false news. He's already been charged with that.
Well, then it is up to Hobson Adoye to prove that what they are charging against him is not necessarily the truth, because the things he said has, quite disturbing security ramifications. If dynamites were used, what was it for? Was it to suppress the voters? Was it to intimidate and to prevent people from coming out to vote?
I've watched that video. He said specifically that it was put there to put fear in the people, and then he confirmed that on the day of election, on the day of voting, he called representatives in the region to find out whether people had come to vote, and there were only fowls roaming about, meaning that he had achieved his aim of scaring the people away. He said that.
Well, if it is anything to go by, this is terrorism. This should be a much more serious offense. But of course, it would all depend on what the investigation reveals and what the courts would look into. On the other hand, Hobson would also have to prove that indeed such a thing happened, and if there are collaborators, if there are people he works with, then we need to know. So the whole thing looks murky at this point in time, but I'm hoping that as they progress, more light will be shed into exactly what happened. And it's particularly important as we go into this year's elections. There's suspicions all over the place about the whole process, about the activities of some persons, which other persons feel is up to no good and all that. And so if you have such information coming up, it consolidates people's existing suspicions about the whole process, which is very dangerous for our democracy. Like I said, one of the surest bets to ensuring that we have a successful election is confidence in the process, trust. Okay, so with these issues coming up, I think it's going to be somewhat detrimental, but we would have a window of opportunity to ensure or to, as it were, get state institutions to respond to some of these things, and by so doing, people would begin to learn or understand that instead of taking matters into their own hands, they can rely on state institutions to deliver. But that would largely depend on what happens with this case. But let me also add, and this is important, already Hobson Adoye has become the prodigal son, so to speak, of the NPP. He's worked very closely with them. He's worked with the national security. He's allegedly gone on operations, including botched operations for the national security and all that. So maybe there's a whole lot he knows than we do. And I think there was already that attempt to get him, and he brought himself, so to speak. So I think to some extent, this could also be an attempt to silence him. But like I indicated, it would largely depend on what comes out of the investigation and what the courts have to say.
Indeed. Thank you very much, security analyst Adib Sani, for sharing those views with us. Now, audit firm KPMG is warning the government could risk paying as much as $122 million should it opt to fully terminate all its contract with SML. The government has, in the last few months, been urged to end its financial commitment to the revenue assurance company. The latest calls were triggered by release of the full audit report. Now, we have been looking at the termination information advice, and let's run you through some of the issues. SML contract. Government of Ghana and Ghana Revenue Authority remain liable to settle SML for services already completed but not yet paid. It says also that the government of Ghana and the GRA are not entitled to a refund of any compensation already paid to SML, regardless of the termination cause. It adds that if the government of Ghana or GRA terminates without cause, it becomes liable to pay SML and return on investment ROI equivalent to the fair value of SML's investment in the contract. Now, it also narrows it down to the SML investment itself and says that first consolidation contract was at $13.9 million. That's given the financial details there. Downstream petroleum audit contract was $30.1 million. Consolidation of revenue assurance services contract was $78.9 million. And $54,497. Now, SML has not provided any supporting document to back this investment. Now, investment should be verified if contract is terminated. Those are some of the extras from the recommendations and findings of the KPMG audit report. Now, private legal practitioner Martin Pegbu says the whole contract with SML should be abrogated since it was signed without the necessary approval.
Absolutely, quickly, because from what I see, you can't benefit from your wrongdoing like this. No. When an agreement is void, it's void. There's a Supreme Court decision that tells you that anything that needs parliamentary approval, if you don't grant it, it is void. You also remember the Martinamidu string of cases. Martinamidu's cases, yes, against Waterville, etc. So they tell you that no, if you don't have parliamentary approval, your thing is void. And so that is it. Any claim of judgment debt, no. If the finance ministry has issues, look, they should invite us in. We'll come and help pro bono to analyze the contract and show how the consequences.
And you heard the private legal practitioner Martin Pegbu. Now, the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism is expressing serious concerns over how the use of hate speech has characterized the political environment in the northern parts of the country. As Ghana prepares to go to the polls on December 7, there are growing concerns on the use of hate speech, misinformation and disinformation by political actors. Christopher Marco is our northern region correspondent. He joins us live on the line. Chris, tell us how the political environment looks like, even as we have two northerners battling it out in this year's general election.
Yes, so Beatrice, you know that the presidential candidates for the two main political parties in the country, that is the MPP and the NDC, all hail from the northern parts of the country. So there is the place is becoming tense as each of the candidates and their supporters want to get into the number one position of the country, and so the place. Everybody is going about their campaigns, but unfortunately the language that is used by their supporters ahead of the elections is something that a lot of stakeholders are concerned about, because people go on radio, people go on television, they sit and they use abusive language on the platforms to send down their messages to their supporters. And this is what the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism is concerned about. This is what opinion leaders in the Greater Tamale metropolis and other parts of the regions are concerned about, because if care is not taken already, the place is known to be hotspot for chieftaincy, land, and tribal disputes. And if these hate speech continue on the media space, then it means that it's going to aggravate the tense situation that the region is witnessing when it comes to conflict.
Indeed, I'm glad you talked about the chieftaincy, land and tribal conflict already pre-existing in the part of the country where you are. But that's what we are hearing from West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism. But what about the other stakeholders? Who are they, and what specifically have they been saying, adding to what this organization is saying?
Okay, so what the other stakeholders are doing is that they are counting on the National Commission for Civic Education and other government agencies to intensify education and sensitization, even as we inch closer to the December 7 elections, because this is an election that already one particular party wants to break the eight, and the other one wants to get back into power. So each of the parties will do whatever it takes to get power. And so stakeholders in the northern region are admonishing party supporters, eligible voters, to be cautious of the languages they use, to also be cautious of what they say, what they do ahead of the December 7 polls.
Thank you very much, Christopher Malcolm, reporting live from the northern region. Now, in the coming weeks, we may likely begin to see a shortage of petroleum products at some fuel stations as members of the Ghana National Petroleum Tanker Union's Drivers Union have begun a sit-down strike to demand improved conditions of service. The drivers cited unmet promises regarding salary enhancements and working conditions. The decision, according to the leadership of the drivers, is in response to what they believe to be the National Petroleum Authority Board's failure to act upon an agreed policy framework proposed in November 2023. Listen to their rep.
For 35 years, Nana Entry has been in the business of transporting petroleum products to the fuel stations. The 73-year-old tanker driver says he would have wished to be on retirement by now, but he's left with no choice than to continue with the job since there is no retirement benefit for his services.
They say me yarda okra isia ne mini bibia ka wura moawa na jaze ko bobisa ne akwa hospital ngwara su gufi school fees ni nyama nyina awie njina ban mo modern moaye.
This, among many other reasons, according to leadership of the tanker drivers, is why they are demanding for a proper pay structure that comes with pension benefits. An agreed policy framework proposed since November 2023 as a measure to enhance salaries and overall working conditions of the drivers and their mates is yet to be approved and implemented by the National Petroleum Authority Board.
You can imagine somebody sitting on this timing bomb, running all over the place, helter-skelter. At the end of the day, you don't have money to even give to your children to go to school. You cannot meet your social obligations. I mean, meanwhile, they see you working all the time. It's not the best. There's nothing like a pension. There's nothing like need to help you, nothing.
And you heard a report by our Ashanti regional correspondent, Ibrahim Abubakar. Let's head to the Supreme Court now, where the Attorney General has been handed 7 days to file his response in a case challenging the power of the President to sack security chiefs, including the Inspector General of Police. Lord Adwasari is there. He joins us live on the line. Lord, what more can you tell us?
Right, so Beatrice, when the case is called, lawyers for the Attorney General, led by a senior state attorney, told the court that they were yet to file responses to the suits that they had been served. And so she was praying the court for additional time to be able to do this. Now, lawyers for Imani Africa, led by Francis Tito, who himself was present, I must say, were not opposed to that submission by the Attorney General's lawyers. And so the Supreme Court gave them the 7 days and adjourned the case for them to file their statement of case regarding or response to the suits. And so that's where we are at right now. We'll be back within a week, and then as and when the Apex Court sets a date for the hearing to take place, we'll know how things will turn out from there.
Beyond this case, Lord, we're also learning that there's another case that came up, the one challenging the eligibility of a member of parliament. Can you tell us what that is about?
Right, so this has to do with the member of parliament for Chilon, Habibu Ujitu. He was taken to court by Yao Joja Jempi in a writ filed at the Apex Court. So Joja Jempi is essentially arguing that the MP was allegedly convicted of fraud in Australia prior to the 2020 election, and therefore was not qualified to be an MP per Article 94 to CI of the Constitution. Now, he had filed a writ invoking the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court to interpret and enforce the Constitution. So he named Mr. Adu the Electoral Commission and the Attorney General as defendants. Now, according to him, the MP had been evading service for almost 2 years, as well as an accompanying injunction application. So the court granted, and Justice Kwame Adu, he's the Supreme Court judge that sat in the case, granted a motion of the applicant and then ordered that a substitute service be served upon the Member of Parliament for Chilon. And so effectively, it's supposed to post copies of the service to the notice board of the Supreme Court here in Accra, another copy on the Clerk of Parliament, another on the notice board of Parliament, and then finally copies on the notice board of the Accra High Court.
Thank you very much. That was Lord Aduasari reporting live from the court. Now, leader of the New Force movement, Nana Kwame Bediako, is holding a meeting with organised labour to share his vision for the workforce. Labour Affairs correspondent Daniel Opoku is there for us. He also joins us live on the line. Daniel, what issues have come up?
Right. So, Kwame Bediako, who is the leader of the New Force, has decided to meet the TUC. Now, TUC is the biggest or the anchor organization when it comes to issues about workers and also fronting for workers' rights. The reason Kwame Bediako, who is the leader of the New Force, has decided to meet them. Now, earlier, Dr. Yaba made his point clear that he once upon a time listened to the leader of the New Force, where he emphasized on the need to send somehow dredge the sea to Kumasi. And that really created a lot of discussions among the citizenry. And he, Dr. Yaba, who is the leader or the Secretary General of TUC, is of a firm conviction that is possible. So if he's able to do that, then obviously workers will have the buy-ins of workers. And when we were given the opportunity to speak as Mr. Kwame Bediako, there are 6 points that he has itemized, looking at the various regions. He emphasized on the need for us to be able to exploit our natural resources. That has been the direction of his focus now. The Ghanaians should be able to own the natural resources. So the natural resources will not be owned by foreigners. So he mentioned the need for instance, the Western region, where you have the petrol, where you have fuel, and also there are other natural resources sitting there which are yet to be tapped. When he is voted into power, according to him, we'll be able to help Ghanaians to exploit those natural resources to help develop the country and also to improve on the livelihoods of workers and Ghanaians.
Daniel, I also know that organised labour is seeking an urgent meeting with President Akufo-Addo to discuss the sale of 60% shares in some hotels owned by SNIT to a company owned by Greek Minister Brian Champon, of course, as well as the state of the pensions trustees. What can you tell us as regards whether or not there's a specific date fixed for this meeting?
Now, Constitution Committee indicates to me that they have petitioned the presidency and they are waiting for the president to convene that meeting. And hopefully, if not by close of day tomorrow, hopefully by next week, they should be able to have a meeting with the president. Let's not forget that next week to the TUC will be meeting Dr. Muhammadu Bawumia. And usually when the president calls such organized labor meeting, you have the vice president who also takes part in the meeting. So when Dr. Muhammadu Bawumia is likely to meet the TUC, then the meeting will not be done on Wednesday, but will be done in the course of the week. But it's something that they have petitioned the presidency. They have also petitioned the chief of staff and the sector minister of employment, who is the sector minister in charge of pensions. All of them have written petition notices from organized labor, and hopefully by close of day tomorrow or next week, they should have that meeting and resolve the issues concerning SNIT.
Daniel, briefly before you go, the question coming up over and again is organized labor has 4 representatives on the SNIT board. Have members been explaining to you why there was no objection until Okudzeto Ablakwa came out with the expose?
Right. So when you look at the structure of the SNIT system, on the board, you have 4 labor unions who are representing organized labor. And my indications after my sources told me that when they went for those series of meetings, they raised red flags why they need to sell those assets to Mr. Brian Champon. But their concerns were ignored. And since then, they have been having series of meetings asking SNIT not to sell the 60% shares to Mr. Brian Champon. But unfortunately, they did not listen to them. And as of Tuesday and Wednesday, when they were just about to conclude the negotiations or the agreement with Mr. Brian Champon, that was when the leadership, the unions, those who represent organized labor on the board, decided to issue a press statement that we have told you to stop, but we decided to proceed. So now, where we are now, what I understand is that SNIT has suspended the intention to sell the 60% shares to Brian Champon, waiting for a series of discussions and also a meeting with the presidency for the next line of action.
Thank you very much, Labour Affairs correspondent Daniel Opoku, for bringing us those details. You just heard there, SNET has suspended the idea of loading off 60% of shares in those 4 hotels to Brani Champa. We'll bring you more later. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us today. Log on to srinews.com for more news. Coming up next is Business Daily. Don't go away.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. Coming up, Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, frustrated by lack of enforcement power over Ghana's oil revenue. Also, Ghana cuts ties with sole contractor SML after audit reviews irregularities. We'll bring you details. Plus, Ghana's agricultural sector to see major boost as Netherlands government provides €20 million funding support. My name is Menu Afu. We'll go straight to our first story. Ghana's oil watchdog, the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, is sounding the alarm about challenges in the nation's crude oil production and revenue management. However, PIAC expresses frustration over its inability to enforce its recommendations, hindering its effectiveness. Emerita Professor Elizabeth Adu Shandorf is the chair of PIAC.
The lack of enforcement mechanisms for the committee's recommendations, absence of a long-term national development plan approved by Parliament to guide the spending of the ABFA and make the expected impact, decline in oil production in oil existing fields. It is important for all stakeholders involved in the management and utilization of petroleum revenues to work together to ensure that investment is attracted to Ghana's sedimentary basins. Also, there is the need for increased exploratory activities to be conducted by IOCs to increase the chances of making finds and increasing the producing sales and revenues.
You heard the voice of Chair of PIAC, Emerita Professor Elizabeth Adu Shandorf. Away from that, the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, has terminated its contract with Strategic Mobilization Limited, a company that had been its sole client since its inception in 2017. This decision comes after a KPMG audit uncovered concerning practices in the awarding of contracts to SML. The Flowing 3 Business News Desk report has the details. The report revealed that the GRA, then attempting to contract with SMEL, SML's former name, was rejected 3 times in 2017 by the Public Procurement Authority for wanting to use a sole source approach. Despite this, SML later secured a subcontract with West Blue Ghana Limited, a service provider for the GRA at the time. Following this, the GRA allegedly awarded SML 5 main contracts without going through the proper approval process. Additionally, The audit found that the GRA entered into some agreements exceeding 1 year without seeking parliamentary approval, a requirement under Ghana's Public Financial Management Act. These revelations raise questions about how SML, offering services valuable to various organizations, remained reliant on a single client for over 7 years. The media also played a role in bringing the issue to light, with a report by the Fourth Estate sparking public outcry over the alleged improper payments to SML by the GRA. In a surprising turn of events, the presidency has released the KPMG report, citing a commitment to transparency and accountability. This shift follows earlier denials of requests to make the report public. Well, that was a 3 Business News Desk report on Ghana Revenue Authority cutting ties with controversial sole contractor SML. In more stories, the Minister of Foreign Trade and Development Corporation of the Netherlands has revealed that her country is investing about 20 million euros into the Ghanaian economy. Speaking at the Adenta Community Gardens as part of a 2-day tour of the country, she stated that a significant portion of the funds will be allocated to the agricultural sector.
So the amount that we invest in Ghana right now as a government is 20 million euros. And the amount for agriculture specifically is 4 million euros. And that goes to working with local farmers, making sure that they work in a sustainable manner and also that it's scalable. Because in the end, it also needs to work towards food security. And we as the Netherlands really want to help you achieve this as also an agricultural country. So that we have in common.
That was Minister for Foreign Trade and Development Corporation of the Netherlands there. Now, a Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area, Wamkele Mene, has emphasized the crucial role of leveraging fintech for businesses to maximize outputs. He urged African governments to harness all available technological resources to drive growth and sustainability in their economies, highlighting the necessity for achieving prosperity across the continent.
Digitally enabled payments is critical, which is why with my senior brother, Professor Orama, we have implemented and we launched it here in Accra, the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, and it was not a mistake to launch it here in Accra. The reason we said we want to launch the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System in Ghana, Accra, is because we are fully conscious of May 1963, when our founding mothers and fathers said, not only are we occupied with pushing back the colonialists, but also we want to establish a Pan-African Payment Union. 1963. And today, we have a digital payments platform that enables me to trade with my counterparty in Kenya. I pay in Ghanaian cedi. My counterparty receives a Kenyan shilling without relying on a third currency. The point I seek to establish today is this, that we have, as Africans, within our reach, digital technology, tools that will enable us to advance on that particular objective of May 1963.
Well, that was Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area, Wamkele Mene. And that will be all for Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. For more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. My name is Menu Afo. Do stay tuned. Urban Blend is up next with Black Rasta.